Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Thank you all for coming. As you can see, we do not have pizza right now. We're doing things slightly differently today. We have stickers. If you want to come up and get them, pizza will be here eventually. So rest assured. Yeah, feel free to come up, get as many stickers as you want. We have plenty. Okay, so thank you all for coming. Uh, cool, cool. I'm sorry. Thank you all for coming. Up until now, you guys have been focusing on the technical aspect of cybersecurity. But as with any system, your security is only as good as your weakest link. And oftentimes, that weakest link is you, the people. So today, we're going to be talking about social engineering, which is how we exploit that vulnerability, how we exploit people. You can think of it as professional stalking plus gaslighting. So it's loads of fun. And yeah, I'm just gonna say now, I know you guys are all CS majors, which means you like computers and you like not touching grass. But as with any occupation, socializing is important. You need to be able to talk to people. And the whole point of social engineering is talking to people in a way that gets them to like you and give up information. So there's a lot of content I'm going to cover today. I have additional resources here that go in more detail. The books focus a lot on the psychological aspect of this, and all of the examples from today are coming from The Art of Deception, which is a really cool book, in my opinion. So for social engineering, we have a few different components. First up, you have your pretext, which is the persona you put on when you go into a social engineering engagement. It's who you pretend to be when you talk to someone. And in order to develop a good disguise, you need to do good research. You need to get your info and know exactly who you're pretending to be. So for the pretext, we're going to use OSINT, and I'm going to talk lots about that. But once you've developed your pretext, then you can start doing your social engineering. You can do it through email, which is called phishing, or through phone call, which is called vishing. And if that's not quite successful and you need a little extra oomph, then you can do physical security. Actually go to the premises on site and obtain information that way. This can get you some really good info, but it is very risky because the most important thing about social engineering is you do not want to get caught. That's the number one thing. So physically going there is a huge risk. But without further ado, let's talk about the pretext, OSINT, which stands for Open Source Intelligence. On the internet, there is a vast wealth of information. So let's figure out how we can figure out that information. First of all, here are just some few ways to get a brief overview of everything. This handout right here, it's a nice little cheat sheet. It has like shortcuts. Whatever you want to find, it has the shortcut for it. So that's really cool, especially if you're a beginner and you don't know where to start. Also, if you know what Metasploit is like, there's this thing called Recon NG, which is like the Metasploit for OSINT. I have never used it. It looks but there's a tutorial there if you want to try it out. So when we do OSINT, we want to figure out, okay, what do people or companies have? And then going off of that, what kind of information can we get on it? So come on, everyone, let's brainstorm a bit. What do people have? Well, I have a face. So facial recognition is one way for OSINT. This is all AI stuff. It's super powerful. PimEyes is a great AI tool. FaceCheck is like bootleg PimEyes. Basically, what you do, just slap a face in there, and it tells you everyone on the internet where has this face shown up. So this serves as a good overview of where is our target appearing in different places. But to actually visit those sites, you need to pay. So, but that's one thing. So, okay, I have a face. What else do I have? Emails. I have emails. Okay, let's think about that. Emails. So, in institutions, your emails are going to follow a certain format, typically like first name, last name. And using that, we can figure out some things. Because if you have people, you can guess potential emails by following that format. And if you have extra emails, you can guess people. So this lets you broaden your scope of who you can target because it helps you find new people and new emails. There's a tool called LinkedIn, which actually does this by looking at people's LinkedIn profiles and the company's LinkedIn and actually prepares this nice little portfolio. You can see everyone, their name, and what they do. So that's pretty neat. So that's one aspect of the emails. There's also the forgot password feature. This can leak some information. For example, on Google, when you say, hey, I forgot my password, I need password recovery, it tells you your recovery email. It doesn't tell you the full thing, but it tells you the length and a few of the characters. So you can like guess your way to the rest of it if you're really good at guessing. But the point is, it shows you some information. It also can tell you your phone number, which tells you the length, and also the area code. So now you can figure out, hey, where does this person live? And sometimes they'll actually tell you the phone model. And so that allows you to figure out what technology is our target using. And if you know their technology, you know their vulnerabilities, you know how to exploit that technology and get a foothold on their system. So that's emails. And we talked about faces. What else can someone have? Well, I have accounts online and they have usernames. So let's look at accounts. There's this neat tool called What's My Name? You basically just give it a username and it looks at all these different websites with accounts and says, hey, does this username exist here? And it just lists all of those there. However, you should be careful because usernames are not unique. Anyone could use my username. And that leads to a lot of false positives. For example, right here on this list, you see all of these entries? Only one is actually mine. Can you guys guess which one that is? Yes, you. No, not Minecraft. Yes. Yes, Ray, try hack me. That one's me. The rest is all BS. Actually, I did this on my friend once, and it was showing up in places like OnlyFans and Full Affinity. And I talked to him about this, and he's like, no, 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 I can assure you that's definitely not me. And I'm like, okay, okay, if you say so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So lots of false positives. You always want to verify whenever you obtain information. So let's see. I got face, I got email, I got accounts. I also have a name, address, a phone number. All of these I'm going to kind of group in together because all these sites right here, what they do is if you have one piece of info, you plug it in and it tells you the other piece of info. It does this by like looking at public records, usually like property ownership, stuff like that. And so this is usually people's starting place for finding info on people. It's like the standard, in my opinion. You should be able to get this much people's name, number, and address. Ooh, these ones are interesting. So GeoSpy is another really cool AI tool. You just give it a picture and it tells you where that picture was taken place. It's kind of like, if you know GeoGuessr, it's the rainbow, basically. It's a personal rainbow in your computer that lets you figure out wherever a picture was taken. So that's really nice. Shodan, yes. Like, why is AI so good at identifying places? That's a great question. My initial thought would be just because of the wealth of information that there is when it comes to online images. I mean, like Google Maps, right? We have pictures of literally every place, not literally, but almost every place. And so when you have that much data to work with, AI tends to find patterns. Um, Also, there's patterns like tree, building, school. Like we have identifiable features that it can pick up on. So that's probably why. Any other questions? Okay, cool. Then I'll talk about Shodan. So what Shodan is it kind of looks online for technologies exposed to the open internet. So sometimes when people set up services or tech, they misconfigure it. And so instead of just being available on their own network, it's available to everyone. And so you can figure out this, you can like search up this information on Shodan, and sometimes you get a lot of useful stuff. At B-Sides Orlando, I met this kid, this high school, he's like 15, and he's like, oh yeah, I've been using Shodan for a few months, and I found some cool things. Like, I was looking at the, what's it called? Security cameras in front of houses during the hurricanes, and he could see which areas of Florida were getting blackouts from the floods because the cameras would just turn off. And so he kind of like mapped the progress of the hurricane and stuff like that. That was cool. And then he's like, oh yeah, but also there's like things like there's a crematorium with the furnace he could just control by pressing a button. So anytime he wanted, he could turn the furnace on and off. And like he tried to tell them, hey guys, you should probably fix this. And they just never responded to him. It's like, oh. But there's more than that. He also found a MRI machine in Russia that he could like spin around and take scans whenever he wanted, and also look up all of the patient data that was stored on that MRI machine. So that's kind of a red flag, but not as big of a red flag as the nuclear reactor facility he found in China. So Shodan can get you some crazy stuff. It's fun to play around with. Um, in terms of social engineering, it lets you know what tech you're going to be working with, which can be helpful. And finally, search engines. Google is great. Let's do some Googling, okay? So usually when you guys Google, you just Google like, ooh, I want to learn about Adam Hassan. Is it okay if I use you as an example? Oh yeah, Cole, what do you want? Oh yes, yeah? Yeah.
Okay, so for a Shodan membership account, which allows you to query like a bunch of times for a bunch of random stuff, it costs like $60 for a one-time payment, but they do a bunch of Black Friday and Christmas sales, so I got my account for $5.
Also, aren't all student accounts free on Shodan? Yeah, you can get a student account for free. So yeah, you guys definitely can use Shodan and you can have lots of fun with it. Thank you for that contribution. So it's fine if I use you, right? I'm just gonna see if I can find your LinkedIn. Yeah. So I heard about this Adam Hassan guy. I heard he's a student. Oh, that does not look like him. It's showing me some kind of ophthalmologist. So actually, one thing I want to do is I want to make sure my search is exactly Adam Hassan and no other like permutations of it. So if I put my thing in quotes, it searches it exactly. Okay. And now I don't want that stinky ophthalmologist. So I can do minus. I can't spell. But basically, if I were to do ophthalmologist, then it would remove him. Ugh, do I actually want to spell this? Nah, it's fine. But also, like, I know he's a student, so I could do student, and I see, wow, Adam Hassan, UF, that looks like the guy I want. So it helps you narrow your searches a lot. And it's not just searching, it's also like um, extra parameters you can do. For example, there you can do specifically on a site. So site is a parameter I want to search on. Let's see if Adam has a Instagram account. I don't think that's him, but we know he has a LinkedIn. And boom, it's only LinkedIn's. And then there's a whole bunch of other things you can do. Play around with it as much as you want. It can help you really refine your searches. At the top here, these are like the secret tricks, like goody goodies. For example, that S3 thing, people tend to post credentials to like API keys and stuff in these things called S3 bins. So if you do this one right here, you can usually find credentials. So yeah, those things are interesting. But Google is not the only search engine. In fact, there are many other search engines. Some of them are incredibly niche. When you do an OSINT, sometimes you want something very specific. You want to use the tool for that specific thing, okay? So these search engines, if there's a certain thing you want, you should use the search engine for that. How do you use these? I don't know. I don't use them. Oh, what was that? Okay. But anyways, the best way to get good at these is just practice, search up stuff, be curious, or whatever. Have fun with it. And lastly, for OSINT, I want to talk about AI. AI is really good right now. For example, at the first GBM, someone just searched up my name on ChatGPT and it gave them like a full-on resume, all of my academic history and accomplishments with links to all of the news articles and sites. And I was blown away, like, wow, how does ChatGPT know that much? But what's even crazier is this thing called eye X-ray. I wonder, yeah. So, as you can see, there is a lot of information online. In fact, you guys could probably make your own thing like IX, right? Since you know the tools, you know PIMIs, you know all these other things we just talked about. That's essentially what they're using under the hood. So, OSINT can be really, really powerful. And with that, we conclude the first half of the presentation, the OSINT component. Guys, you can feel free to come get pizza. I know you've been waiting. So, yeah. Okay, and another call. Now that you guys have had your pizza, please sign in. It would be nice. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to resume. So we talked about OSINT. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I had a social engineering tryouts test where people could OSINT me. And let's go ahead and see what did they uncover. First of all, I released the challenge at midnight. 3 minutes after releasing the challenge, someone calls me. And I pick up my phone and I'm like, hello? And on the other line, I hear, I'm like, okay, bye bye. And I hang up. I was so confused. How did they manage to do that? Turns out UF just shows everybody's phone number. If you just go to your email and like click on the person's profile, it says this information on them. So that is neat. Now, this was a really nice report that one of the people sent me. Um, in terms of what they uncovered, not much. They try to do a social engineering thing, but one thing I'll talk about later is you need good pretext. And so here they didn't really have pretext, so it just kind of confuzzled the person, but it was nice. And then just like general, like, looked on LinkedIn, look on all of their profiles, websites, the standard stuff we were talking about. And yeah, one thing I thought was cool is I had a video where I was showing how to use Overleaf, and Overleaf is linked to your email account. So through that, they were able to find my email account, which I thought was pretty neat. And yeah, so that is all I will show for that. But from there, they didn't really find anything juicy, and no one that did this challenge did. What people were missing, you didn't find it until I told you specifically where it was, okay? Really? You want to go ahead and talk about that? Okay. But GitHub is pretty important because people like to code and they make mistakes when coding. So sometimes they might leak a password. If you go to someone's profile, all of their commits, they are shown right here. So you can just go through all of their commit history and see if they ever screwed up and accidentally leaked a password like I did. And sometimes people aren't the best at security. And when they leak one password, it happens to be the password for other accounts. For example, their Discord account. So potentially, if anyone got this far, they could have hacked into my Discord account and completely ruined my reputation and uncovered uh, not good things about me. So luckily that didn't happen. And I changed all my passwords. And now I want to mention complex passwords people usually recommend, and usually it doesn't work out because people are forgetful and they're lazy and they don't want to type that. So instead, what practitioners recommend now is use long passphrases. If your password is really long, it's going to be hard to crack. So you can just make it like a sentence or a bunch of words strung together, like I have here. Throw in some leet speak in there if you want to. But that's a good way to have secure passwords that are easy to manage. And so that's all for the OSINT. Now let's talk about the actual social engineering, our attack vectors. So first comes email, which is phishing. I do not like phishing, so I prepared only one slide for it. Spear phishing is a term for a targeted phishing attack. So instead of spamming everyone, we have a specific target and we spear phish them. So a few things that you've probably heard before is one, don't click links because they might lead to bad sites. You want to inspect the link before clicking it. But another interesting thing you may not have known is that when images get loaded, sometimes a link is embedded inside the image. And when the image loads, it executes that link. So all you had to do was open up your email, the image loads, and you visited that site without even knowing it. So that's why if you look at Outlook and there's a untrusted external email, they just don't show you any of the images. That's why, so that you don't access those malicious links. Some other things, just like spelling errors are sus, especially in like email names. Sometimes it's like Unicode equivalent. So even though it looks like an A, it's not really an A. It's like a fancy A in some other language. But nowadays, spelling errors are less frequent because ChatGPT is good at typing stuff. So they usually use AI to leverage phishing attacks. And even if it's an email from someone you know, still don't trust it because if one account gets compromised and they start spamming all of their friends and their friends just trust, hey, I know that guy, I'm going to click on his link, then that leads to the attack spreading and it's not that great. But the main problem for phishers in general when they're trying to execute an attack is to bypass that spam filter because email apps have great filtering in place to stop all of this. So there's a lot of nifty tricks that are too complicated and too technical for me to explain right now. But if you're interested, you can look more into that. So that is phishing. Any questions? Okay. Actually, about clicking links. So the day after I released the tryout challenge, I got a call from someone in Gainesville. I pick it up, and it's my banker. And he's calling me, and he's like, hey, this is just a courtesy call. When did you last visit the bank? Yada, yada. Did we talk to you about our promotions? And I'm like, no, could you please tell me? And he's like, oh, sorry, I can't discuss that over the phone. Let me send you an email with the link for you to click on. And I'm like, okay. And then immediately after, I get the email, and it's from my actual banker with the actual link. And I click on it, and it's totally legit. So I don't know. I just thought that was surprising, given all the advice we hear about don't click links. So yeah. Smishing. This is phishing over SMS text. That's all I have to say about it. It's basically the same thing except through text. There's different bypass mechanisms for the spam filter, but I don't want to say too much about it. You guys probably got that spam text message about like highway toll, whatever. It's been happening pretty recently, but yeah. This is the part I like talking about. Vishing. It's when you yap to someone over the phone, and that's how you social engineer them. For this, I actually have a playbook. So let's go step by step. What do we want to do when we phish someone? Our first step, before we even call anyone, is we want to build our pretext. This is the OSIM we were talking about. But specifically, what do we want to figure out about our target? Number one, you want to learn the lingo of that institution or that company. Because if you talk the talk, people will think you're part of the group and they'll start to trust you and they're like, oh, yeah, he knows what I'm saying. I can give him all of my sensitive information. So it makes you look credible when you know their secret lingo. Another thing, you want to figure out who knows who because you're going to be calling them and you're going to be like, hey, actually, yeah, let's do an example. Uh, if you wanted to impersonate me and you called Adam and you're like, hey, Adam, this is Andre. I paid for the pizza and I am poor, so please tell me your credit card number. Adam is not going to let that fly because he knows who I am. He's going to know you're not Andre. So you want to know who you're talking to and who they know. The best thing is you want to talk to someone who knows about somebody but doesn't actually interact with them. For example, a grunt versus a CEO. Everyone knows the CEO, but no one actually interacts with them or knows what they sound like, stuff like that. So you want to be careful with who knows who. And finally, you can find out who is gone at the moment. Because if someone is not there and you call saying, hey, Colin asked me to take all the pizza for the CTF meeting tomorrow, that could work because if Colin wasn't here, people would just trust what I'm saying. And if they didn't, if they said no, Colin wouldn't say that, then I could start saying, oh, okay, fine. I'll just tell Colin that you were being uncooperative, and so I couldn't do the thing he asked me to do. So this is a tactic that I didn't really realize at first was so powerful, but it really is. And you will see examples of all of these in the future. So this is what you want to know going in. And some general pro tips. If you're calling and they start to get sus of you, don't aggravate them. Do not go on the offensive and say like, no, give me this now, or I will delete all your whatever. When you get offensive, people get defensive and won't give you info. So you want to back down, calm the person down and say like, no, 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 that's understandable. Just trust me. I only care about your security. I wouldn't try to make you give up any information. And once they start trusting you and letting their defenses down, then you can ask them for the information and they'll give it up to you. Another thing, act confident, be bold. You have spent months developing your pretext. You know what you're talking about. If you act confident, most of the time, people will just believe you. It is crazy. Another thing, if you act like you're in a tight spot and you need help, people like helping other people, especially their coworkers or their friends. It's built into our nature. So you'll see a lot of tactics is like when people get resistant, you're like, oh, I'm on a tight deadline. I really need this, so I'm going to get fired. Just don't make it into a sob story because people don't want to hear on that. So don't get too excessive. And these other things I will mention later through the examples. So far, are there any questions? No? Everyone understands? Okay, good. So this is all of our setup. Now, let's actually execute it. Our first contact. Who are we going to call to be our first victim? We need to pick very carefully. Typically, it's going to be someone new, young, and experienced. Because old people that have been in the company a long time know what's normal and what's not. But if they're young and inexperienced, they might think that giving up so and so information is okay, especially if you act like you're someone who's been in the company a long time and know what you're doing. Bonus points if they're bad with technology, because then you can throw fancy computer words in there and they'll believe what you're saying, even though it's not legit. And here are a few tactics you should use during that first phone call. One thing is vouching. Vouching can be pretty important. If you say that you're here to do a job for someone else, like, oh, Adam asked me to do this. Could you please give me this information? They'll be more willing to give it because someone they know asked for it, right? A variant of this is, oh, yeah. No, never mind. I want to talk about that now. And with that, it actually works better if you say that someone more important asked you to do it. For example, no one wants to be on the bad side of the CEO. So if you say, hey, the CEO asked me to get faxed this information, they're going to comply because they don't want to get on the CEO's bad side. People like submitting to authority. And finally, when you ask those critical questions that give up the secret information, you don't just want to bombard them with, what is your credit card number? What is your social security number? Where do you live? Who do you live with? Stuff like that. People are going to be suspicious of that. So instead, you want to surround it with some more friendly questions like, hi, how has your day been? Are you happy with the company? Is everything going well? Are you okay, Nathan? What's your social security number? Yeah. If you get them to say yes initially, they're going to be more likely to say yes in the future. So this is a useful tactic. And here I have a bunch of roles you can play as to make this an effective first contact. I'm not going to explain each of these individually because I have plenty of examples that go through each of these. So we got our first contact. We were able to pick out some good info from their brains. Now what are we going to do? We're going to call back to a different person and we're going to pretend to be someone more important. Since we have more information, we can get away acting as a bigger guy. So we just keep on escalating and escalating, gathering more and more sensitive information until eventually we get that juicy information we were after. So that is what a phishing attack looks like. And once you get that information, don't leave it there, you know? You spent all this work getting into this system and getting to this position. Wouldn't it be nice if next time we could just start at that same place? So you want to set up connections for future attacks. How this would work is like basically along the lines of you come up with a good excuse for somebody to call you later. You know how in in cybersecurity, we have like shells versus reverse shells? There's the same thing for vision. And you think of it usually as I call you and I try to scam you. But sometimes I can make you want to call me back later. And that serves as a good recurring connection point. So at this point, do anyone have any questions? No? Everything's making sense? Okay, that seems like I've explained it well. It is, oh, we have 15 minutes. I have plenty of examples now. We're going to do a bit of role playing. Does anyone want to be my first victim? Hands? Anyone want to join in? You're basically just going to read the blue script. Okay, Evelyn, I'm going to pick you for this one. So let me set up the scenario. I am Oscar Grace. Oscar Grace. I live in the UK. And there's this thing called credit checks, which is basically the credit system of the UK. I want to find someone's transaction history. And so this is my first contact.
So, wait, what do I read?
You read the blue box.
Okay. National Bank, this is Kim. Did you want to open an account today?
Hi, Kim. I have a question for you. Do you guys use credit checks?
Yes.
When you phone in to credit checks, what do you call the number you give them? Is it a merchant ID? And at this point, she pauses. She's kind of suspicious of me because this is sort of secret information. She doesn't feel okay to give it. And I noticed this. So I instantly follow up with, because Kim, see, I'm working on a book. It deals with private investigations. And at that point, she understands and is like,
Yes.
yeah, so it's called a merchant ID, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, great, because I want to make sure I had the lingo right, for the book. Thanks for your help. Goodbye, Kim. So let's analyze this first contact for a bit. What did they do right? First of all, you see, they knew the lingo. They knew the word merchant ID, which was a secret lingo within the company. And that's how they were able to gain credibility. So, actually, I have a question for you guys. It seems like I went in already knowing the lingo. Why would I call to ask about if they use merchant ID? Yes, Justin.
To make sure that you gain access to more lingo, so you look more credible when you call.
That is a good point. You could get more lingo if they're willing to talk a bit more than they're supposed to. But there's another reason.
Say if you wanted to talk to this person again, it would be easier to get more information out of them because they've already said yes. You've already built rapport, and it's they know you, quote unquote.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's an easy target because you already know how to make them say yes. They're going to be willing to give up other stuff. Those are all good ideas. I like it. I like it. But there's one other really important reason why. Everyone want to try? Yes? What do you mean? I already suppose that they do. Okay. Yeah, Phoenix, you want to go?
So like if you're a hacker and you've hacked other bank systems and companies that use merchant ID, then you know that it's a very common thing for them to use. But what if you don't know specifically that they have merchant ID? You're basically like doing a little binary check to make sure that they do.
Bingo. That's it. You always want to verify your information. Even though I had a hunch that they use merchant ID, I do not know for sure, which is why I called and asked them. Nice job. And the reason verifying is important is because now, when you're on your first contact, you can make mistakes. It's not great, but you're not going to die from it. But if you're pretending to be, say, the CEO, you've escalated, and you mess up lingo like this, people are going to get suspicious. They're going to call the cops. It's not going to be great for you. Okay? So that's step one. And then for the next one, anyone want to be Chris? It's only 2 lines. Should I just say, okay, yeah, go ahead.
National Banks, new accounts. This is Chris.
Hi, Chris. This is Alex. I'm a customer service rep with Credit Checks. We're doing a survey to improve our services. Can you spare me a couple of minutes?
Of course.
And at this point, I just list the questions. And you can see this is what I was talking about earlier. You want to embed your sensitive questions with much more tame questions. See, it's all like typical stuff. And then, ooh, a number, typical stuff. What merchant ID do you use? And then typical stuff. You never want to end or start with the critical questions because that's going to last in their memory. So yeah, anyone have questions about this step? So you can see I'm escalating. I'm going from just knowing that they have a merchant ID to knowing what merchant ID they use. And then finally, that's what I'm just going to do. Basically, I call and they're like, Credit Checks. So now instead of calling the bank, I'm calling Credit Checks themselves. Credit Checks, this is Henry McKinsey. How can I help you? And at this point, I claim to be the guy I just called from the bank. And I'm going to say, hey, I'm from the bank. Here's my merchant ID. And could you please tell me this person's credit history? And so with that, I got the information I wanted in the end. Does that example sit well with you guys? Okay, let's move on to the next one. At this point, this one might resonate with you guys. Michael Poco, he was a guy like late teens, early 20s. He wants a job. He likes money. However, he does not like to work. And he knows that college degrees tend to get you good jobs. Well, at least at the time. This was written like 2000. At that time, they did. I don't know about it anymore. That was kind of like a requirement. But the point is, he wanted a degree. He didn't want to work for it. So what did he do? He's going to try and call and see if there's anyone in his school, in this school, that has the same name, Michael Parker, so he can steal their degree and pose as that Michael Parker when applying for jobs. So he heads to his university. He calls up and he's like, hey, I'm calling from the computer center. We're making some changes to the network configuration, and we want to make sure we don't disrupt your access. Which server do you connect to? Does anyone want to be this role? Anyone? No? Which you want?
What do I read again? Okay. What do you mean server?
Yeah. So what computer do you connect to when you want to look up a student academic information?
Admin.mu.edu.
Cool. Thanks. And at that point, I now know what website they use to store all of their information. But I want a little more stuff. Does anyone want to be the victim for this? No. Should I stop with this? Is this too much time? Okay, I'll stop with this. I wasn't sure if it was interactive or just annoying. So, thank you. Okay, then I'll make you do it next time, Adam. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay. So now, again, I'm posing as the tech guy, the IT guy of the place. Hi, I'm Jake from I'm Jake from the university's computer center. Right now we're testing a new production system for for records, and we need to have it ready by next week. Look, could you do me a favor and connect to our test system? And I'm going to give Adam the IP of my computer, since this is a fake test system, and walk them through the steps of logging in. And at this point, I have a keylogger set up. So he signs in, starts typing his credentials, and I get it because of the keylogger. And then something goes wrong, and Adam says,
It's not working. It keeps saying login incorrect.
oh, some of the accounts haven't been brought over yet to the machine. Let me set up your account, and I'll call you back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is a great example for a few things. First of all, he ends with, thank you. My victim is thanking me for scamming them. Isn't that wonderful? You want to end all of your talks with your victim saying thank you. Another thing I want to bring up is I'm posing as the computer IT guy. We've done that twice now. This is a common pretext to pretend to be the IT because people don't know how computers work and they trust IT. So in this first one, I posed as I'm changing something, I'm adding something new, and I don't want to disrupt your access. I'm doing computer stuff, I don't want to trouble you, so tell me your login credentials, basically. And for this one, it's, I'm trying to do something and it's not working. So here you can see I'm appealing to pity. I'm asking you, hey, I'm in a tight spot, can you help me out? People like responding to that. And C, I keep it short and simple. I don't give you a 5-paragraph essay about how my life is horrible. I just say, I'm in a tight spot. I need some help. I have a question for you guys that I read in text. I'll call you back. Why did I say I'll call you back? And I'll say I actually do call them back later. Why would I do that? Julian.
So they'll be ready for you to call them back later. Unlike, I mean, as opposed to if you don't say that, they'll be like, "Why are you calling me again?"
That's true. If we're trying to set up a persistent connection and we want to get back to them, that is true. But there's another reason why. Yes.
Because if you don't, it's really suspicious.
Exactly. It's going to be suspicious if you don't follow up. We want to tie up as many loose ends as we can. We want to go in and out, leaving no trace of ourselves. So if we say we were working on this server and hey, something didn't work, we want to come back later and explain to them like, oh, it's all right. This or this happened. Everything's fine now. We don't want them to leave there wondering like, hey, that was weird. What's going on? So great job for figuring that out. And you can see in the pink there, this is another common pretext. You say, oh, my technology isn't working when they start to get suspicious. And you come up with some excuse for that. So pretending to be IT guy, saying your technology isn't working, those things are great pretexts. And I think here, yes, here's the finale. Instead of me pretending to be the IT guy, now in this point, I call the IT guy because I now have access to their server and I have no clue what's going on. It's a mess. The code base is awful. So I'm going to ask their IT guy. By the way, computer guys tend to like to help other people out, especially when it comes to computer stuff. So calling them makes for a nice target. So I'm like, hey, I'm Mike Sellers in the registrar's office. You feel like taking pity on a new guy? Sorry to be calling you, but they're all in a meeting this afternoon, and there's no one around to help me. I need to retrieve a list of all graduates with a computer science degree between 1990 and 2000. They need it by the end of the day, and if I don't have it, I may not have this job for long. You willing to help out a guy in trouble? Pure pity. Like, I am just saying, please help me. My life sucks. Yeah. I stretch it on a bit here, but it works in this situation because IT guys are nice. And in the end, he tells me how to navigate it. I look up in the database. I find Michael Parker and steal his degree. Now I can get a job. Yippee. Okay. I think I have, yeah, one more story. This one's a long one. Anyone want to be my victim? Pew, 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 pew. Oh, okay. Pick random people, I think. Thank you, Nathan. So I'm a guy. I want Bing stuff for reasons. I kind of forgot at the moment, but we'll get to there eventually. So anyways, I call up to a Buffalo office. This is Tim Ackerman. What's the branch number there?
The phone number or the branch number?
Branch number.
3182.
Nice and simple call. I just asked for information and he gave it to me because this is kind of low level information. It's not that confidential. He really shouldn't be giving it out, but he still did. But now I know the branch number for the Buffalo office. So I can pretend to be someone from Buffalo and act as their branch. Anyone want to be Angela? Ba-ba-ba-ba. Yes, Sasha. Okay.
Hi, this is Angela. How can I help you today?
Hello, Angela. I'm about to receive a sizable inheritance, and I would like to know about the different types of savings accounts your branch offers. Do you know of any investment options that keep my money safe but earn decent interest?
Yes, in fact, we have many options available. I cannot discuss them over the phone, but if you're interested, you can schedule an appointment and we can explore your possibilities in person.
I'm sorry. I'm leaving on a trip as soon as the money arrives and still have a lot of arrangements to make, so I can't come for an appointment.
It's all right. Okay, here's what I can tell you about CD.
Oh, sorry. I've got to take this other call. Sorry about that. What time can I finish this conversation with you so I can make some decisions? When do you leave for lunch?
I believe 12:30.
Great. I'll try to call you back before then. See you, Angela. And here, this actually mirrors my bank story because they say, oh, we can't give that information over the phone. Can you schedule an in-person appointment? And in my case, the guy sent me a link to click. But yeah. And here, I ask, when do you leave for lunch? Why would I do that? Yes. Sorry. Okay, fine.
It was just way too close. Because then you can impersonate her. Theoretically, because you know that she's not there.
That's one point. Yeah, I can impersonate her. There's another way that's probably more effective. Anyone want to try? Yes, Ray.
You could say like, "Oh, Angela's out at lunch. She needed this done. She told me to do it."
Well done. This is the vouch I've been talking about so much. We figure out when someone's not available. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to call again to a different person a little time later. You see, this is 11:27. I called 12:48 when I know Angela's not there. Who wants to be my next victim? Boop, 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 boop. Okay, Colin, I'm choosing you. Is that all right? Okay. Hello, this is Neil Webster. I'm calling from branch 3182 in Boston. Angela Winsowski, please.
Oh, she's at lunch. Can I help?
Well, she left a message asking us to fax some information on one of our customers. The person who normally handles this request is out sick. I've got a stack of these to do. It's almost 4 o'clock here, and I'm supposed to be out of this place to go to a doctor's appointment in half an hour. Whoever took her message, the fax number is unreadable. It's like 213 something. Can you tell me what's the rest?
Yeah, that's 213-8888.
Okay, thanks, buddy. Before I can fax this, I need to ask you for code B. And so right here, what code B is this bank has special codes that they use. There are 5 of them. And this is how they identify that you're actually part of the bank. So if someone asks for information, you're supposed to say, okay, sure, what's code B? Or what's code A, code C, code D, whatever. And so he gets suspicious of this and he says,
But you called me.
exactly. So how am I going to recover from this? And you see again a bit of a sob story to get him sympathetic. Okay, I've got a branch manager that's just turned paranoid about getting verification before we send anything out is all. But listen, if you don't need us to fax the information, it's okay. No need to verify.
Look, Angela will be back in half an hour or so. I can have her call you back.
It's fine. I'll just tell her I couldn't send the information today because you wouldn't identify this as a legitimate request by giving me the code. If I'm not sick out tomorrow, I'll call her back then. Ugh. The message says urgent. Never mind. Without verification, my hands are tied. You'll tell her I tried to send it to you, but you wouldn't give the code, okay?
Oh, wait a minute. I have to get to my computer. Which code did you want?
B.
All right, it's 3184.
That's not the right code.
Yeah, it is. It's B. It's 3184.
No, I didn't say B. I said E.
Okay, wait a minute. So E is 9697.
9697, right? I'll have the fax on the way there, okay?
All right, sure. Thanks.
Yes, he said thank you to me again. I'm so good at this. But look at that. B, E, I could keep going. C, D, whatever I wanted. But he was a bit suspicious for me, so I'll stop there. And now I have my code. Let's do it one more step. Who wants to be Walter? Anyone? Yes. Thank you, Walter.
Industrial Federal Bank, this is Walter.
Hey, Walter, it's Bob Grobkowski in Studio City, branch 38. I need you to pull a SIG card on the customer account and fax it to me.
Sure thing. What's code C?
Another teller is using my computer right now, but I just asked B and E, and I remember those. Ask me one of those.
Okay, what's E?
E is 9697. And then he just gives me my information. Yippee! So now I have a SIG card, which is basically telling me sort of like all the info on this person that I want. So the customer, I have all of their customer info right now. And finally, it's the payout time. Who wants to be the last person? Yes, thank you. Hi, this is Mr. Anselmo.
How can I help you today?
What's that 800 number I'm supposed to call when I want to see if a deposit has been credited yet?
You're a customer of the bank.
Yes, and I haven't used the number in a while, and now I don't know where I wrote it down.
The number is 800-555-8600.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And so now, this is the phone number that customers call to if they have all of their information, and they just ask the automated service to tell them, like basically their credit transaction history. So since I obtained the SIG card earlier, and now I have the number, I can just call into that number, pretend to be the customer, and get all of his bank information, all of his banking history. Isn't that wonderful? Just through a few phone calls. Well, not wonderful. I should clarify. These things can be very illegal if you're doing it for the wrong reasons. These tactics you should not be doing for legal things. It is actually very bad. Please only do it in a safe practice scenario. In the future, I'll try to set up scenarios like this so you guys can practice and have fun. But yeah, do all of these with good faith. There are legit jobs that use social engineering, a lot of them. For example, red teamers, penetration testers. I have a story about that actually. But yeah. So these were all just purely through the phone. But sometimes we want to get a bit snazzy. We want some physical security in there. What do we need for physical security? And sorry, I think I'm going a bit overtime. So if you want to leave, go ahead. I won't mind at all. So for physical security, you should bring props. For example, donuts. Everyone loves donuts. If you walk into a building with a donut, people will let you in. They just like donuts that much. Not always, but it tends to work. And another thing that works a lot of the time, especially if you're pretending to be IT, is a clipboard. If you have a clipboard, you look smart. You look like computer guy writing down computer stuff. So they also let you in that way. And also you want to dress the part. For example, if I'm walking in to be a CEO, you don't want to be dressed like this. CEOs do not dress like this. I want to be fancy business tie suit, dress for the occasion, walk like the occasion, talk like the occasion. Yes, Ray. High-vis vests for, is there a specific role the high-vis vests work for? Okay, cool. So high-vis vests. People just let that walk by. So that's another great prop. Thank you for that. So, yes, Aiden.
Like cons, just wear a badge, and most people will let you in. If you are able to just print out a badge and put it in a lanyard, you're Jill.
True. Badges are often used for verification. If you look like you have a badge, people may think you have a badge. But that's not always the case. Sometimes they actually check the badge. In that case, there are actually ways to swipe the badge. There's technologies for that, where if you're in close enough proximity, do you want to say something? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
A yellow vest and a ladder.
Yellow vest and the ladder. That, I haven't seen that one or heard about that one, but that sounds like it works. Oh, actually, that's a great thing. If you're walking in with the ladder, your hands are tied. You can't open a door. So you're like, hey, can you open this door for me? And they'll do it for you. So yeah, that does work. That does work. But anyways, for badges, you can clone a badge. And so another thing about saying, hey, when are you out for lunch? Or where'd you go for lunch? If you know where they go when they're not at the company, you can be in that area around them and clone their badge without them knowing. So then you can come in with a legit badge. But I have two quick examples. One is from Besides Orlando. There's this pen tester, so good guy, named the Magician. I actually have a business card from him. It's actually a playing card. It's so sick. But anyways, this was one of his physical social engineering attempts. He wants to get into a building and he wants to know like the server configuration and what tech they're using. So what he does, he walks behind the building and unplugs the coax cable so their Wi-Fi goes out. Waits a few minutes, plugs it back in, then walks into the building with a clipboard. Everyone there is freaking out because their internet is out and they need internet to work. And he's pretending to be IT guy saying, hey, we received calls about internet problems here. And they're like, yes, please. This is awful. Can you come help us? It's like, sure. And he just like does some BS for a bit. And eventually the problem fixes itself because he plugged the cable back in. And they're like, wow, you did it. And he's like, okay. But before I go, can I have a look at your servers, to make sure everything is functioning correctly and this doesn't happen again? And they just guide him to their critical infrastructure and he can get whatever information he wants. So that is cool. And I had one last example, but I will exclude that for the sake of time. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how social engineering works. For a business, how do you stay safe? One, have specific guidelines for giving out information. Do not give out information willy nilly. Have set procedures so people follow them. And another thing, if someone calls you and you think it's sus, what you want to say is, okay, what's your name and phone number? And they tell you, you can hang up and call them again after verifying. If you can't verify, that's fine. The point of calling them back is so that you know they're not spoofing a number and they're actually calling from the number that they say they are. Yeah, and just don't let random people into the building. Don't hold doors for people. Be a mean person. Yeah, that's it for me. Sorry that took so long. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you all for coming. Yeah. And now at this point, you guys can feel free to go. I'll answer questions and we can actually go through that last example if you want. Yes, two announcements. One, tomorrow for CTF team, we have an intro to Rev Talk. If you're interested, show up. And yeah, taught by Adam. And second, next week is movie night. So I'll bring soda, we'll have pizza. And do we know what movie we're watching yet? Oh, we're gonna have a poll for what movie you want. Okay, yeah. So you guys can come to that. It's gonna be super chill, a lot less technical. So once again, thank you guys for coming. Any questions? No? No? Okay. Do you guys want to hear the last example? Sure. Oh, okay. Let's see if I still have it in me. Actually, yeah. Two people role play this. I think I've done enough. Daniel. Yes. Okay, great. Caleb and Daniel. You guys have fun with this. So I'll give you a scenario. This is a big company. They're working on a secret product. And this dude walks in saying that he scheduled a meeting to talk to the president about this product. And the president's name is Larry. So go ahead, Mr. Rick.
Hi, I'm Rick Daggett, and I'm here for my meeting with Larry P.
Larry's on vacation all week.
I have an appointment with him at 1 o'clock. I just flew in from Louisville to meet with him.
Nuh-uh, the 20th. That's next week.
Oh no, I can't believe what a stupid mistake I made.
Can I book a return flight for you at least?
Yes, please, thank you. Well, at least I could talk to Steve if he's available.
Yeah. Steve's on vacation all week.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, my flight home isn't until the late afternoon, so I'd like to take some of the key people to lunch, including you, of course. Is there someone who could fill in for you at lunchtime?
Who do you want to come?
I would like Adam Hassan to come.
Basically, Rick walked in looking all nice in a fancy suit and tie. He hits on the secretary and gets them all to go to lunch. He has the full list of everyone working on this project, you know, the project lead, CTO, all stuff like that. They go to lunch. He like chills with them, hangs out, becomes buddies with all of them, and asks them to send him all of the information regarding this project because, you know, he's working with Larry on this. Larry comes back a week later and he is like, what the hell did you guys do? Who is Rick? I've never met a Rick in my life. And they call like the business call that he gave him, and it's not a real number. And they all just got scammed. 1 month later, that secret product they've been working on pops up. A different company from China releases the same thing. So this is how social engineering can be used in a like technical enterprise theft way. And this story was so insanely cool to hear. Yeah. Yeah, what's up? Could you clarify which information are we talking about? So in all these examples here, it's usually a specific scenario. For example, it might be a private contractor, a private investigator. Someone asked to dig up dirt on someone or get their information and do it that way. That's usually what all of these were. Like the credit example, it was someone wanted to make a deal with the person or like lend them money, but they wanted to make sure they had good credit history. So that's what the private investigator did in that case. In this book, I talked about the art of deception. All of the examples are actually, none of them are just grab info and sell it online. They're all like very specific. They have their own background and story. It's all really neat to see. but that is an alternative in the like spammy way. People tend to grab a lot of information that way and sell it. The problem with selling info really is info sells for cheap. So these targeted attacks that we've been doing, we put so much investment of time and energy into it that if we went around and sold the information, it usually would be a net loss for us because information on the black market doesn't really fetch that high of a price because we have these spammers getting all the information everywhere. If it's of someone really, really important, maybe it would sell for a high price, but who knows? It really depends on the context. Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay, then I'll end the Zoom. Oh, yeah. Thank you guys again for coming. If you have any questions about social engineering, feel free to chat with me. But with that, good night.